Greetings. My name is Ruben Roberts, and I am the CEO of RER Consulting. RER Consulting has two signature programs, Team Talk and COVID-19 Mental Health and Wellness Program. Tonight's Let's Talk Mental Health is brought to you by the COVID-19 Mental Health and Wellness Program. And I have a very distinguished guest with me tonight. It's Catherine Rincon, and she is the founder of Happy Thoughts Mental Health Services. And so we're pleased to be able to bring her on. But before we go further, I want to encourage you to bring your family members on so that they can learn some things about the ways to cope with stress, depression, anxiety, and levels of support, and just overall mental health. We think that this is vitally important. This program will be brought to you in English, and we have another episode coming that will be totally Spanish that Ms. Rincon will be spearheading. So the other thing I want to encourage you guys to do is to go to our website, mymentalhealthmiami.com. When you go to that website, you can go to the right-hand corner and take our survey. There's a link up the top that takes you directly to the survey. Why should you take the survey? The survey is important so that you'll know where you are in terms of stress, anxiety, depression, and level of support. When you complete the survey, you will receive a scorecard that'll give you what your scores are in those four areas that I just mentioned from a range of 0 to 10. And if your scores are high, we have a care coordination team that you can reach out to at 786-433-8487. Again, 786-433-8487. And that care coordination team is powered by New Horizons. So we welcome you to do that. Make sure you know your score. We're living under such high degree of stress, anxiety right now with gas prices going up, housing prices going up. There's so much that's going on that we really need to be able to take care of ourselves and know our score. Make sure you know your score. Make sure you go to the COVID Mental Health and Wellness website, which is mymentalhealthmiami.com. Click on the survey button up top, and then take your survey, get your score, and then follow up with our care coordination team at 786-433-8487. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Catherine Rincon. Welcome,
Hi,
Catherine.
guys. Hi, Ruben. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me today. I am so honored to have you on our Wellness Wednesdays. It's definitely a pleasure. For those of you, those of the listening audience that does not know you, please tell us a little bit about your career as a licensed mental health clinician. How did you get involved? What was your journey? What was the motivation for you to get involved in this process?
Right. Well, I'm Catherine, like you said. Yeah, I'm a licensed mental health counselor, like you also said. I've been practicing for 12 years, most all South Florida, mostly with independency in jails, in schools, just mostly with low socioeconomic communities and families. And the whole time, and also in Mobile Crisis as well in Broward. Most of my career has been guided by just providing access to care to everybody, anybody, especially in communities that are underserved. So I've been doing that. And now I started Happy Thoughts Mental Health to work mostly with women and families and men and adolescents in our communities, in BIPOC, Latinx, mostly communities that really might find counseling kind of scary, but are taking the chance to really have that clarity and that moment of reflection. So I'm blessed to do that work for at least 2 years now.
Thank you for sharing. So, what motivated you to become a mental health counselor?
I'm Dominican. I'm a Spanish young girl, and I was just raised in a great family, but in a society, of course, and in environments where mental health wasn't really talked about. So honestly, I felt a little bit kind of crazy or a little weird just growing up with the anxieties that I've gone through, and also being of color and going to graduate school and just in communities where we can't really talk about the elephants in the room of the microaggressions that you face and just like what anxiety really is and all these things. So I've just been going through my career and with my life not really understanding certain things about mental health, but in my work I've also witnessed other people go through the same thing. And I know that you're familiar with the fact that we don't really talk about this stuff, you know? So
Yeah.
the motivation is really to just kind of spread unconditional and professional, ethical mental health counseling work to everyone, anybody that needs it. And that's motivated me. Hmm.
Excellent. So I'm glad that you mentioned that you had your own experiences with anxiety, and it can be debilitating at times. And of course, if you don't come from a background or a family system that really acknowledges these issues such as anxiety or depression or stress, then it can be troubling because you don't know how to cope. You don't have the coping strategies, and so what you're also identified as the stigma related to it, and that in some cultures, especially in marginalized communities, where just talking about mental health or a mental health diagnosis can be seen as a sign of weakness or a sign that that something is actually wrong with you. When we know, for those of us who are clinicians who practice, that if you go to the DSM-5, which is our diagnostic tool that we use, you can find a diagnosis that fit every person that is listening on this to this program. So talk to me about the stigma. Talk to me about the blocks and barriers that prevent some folks from receiving mental health services when they actually really need them.
That
Uh,
is, can you hear me now? Oh, there we
yes.
go. Technical difficulties. But I know that there's a big narrative in our families, or at least in mine and a lot of families that I've witnessed, that you have to really kind of tough it out. You have to be strong.
Yes. Yes.
You do what you got to do. Yeah. And that leads, of course, a lot of people feeling, coming to my office, and I'm sure yours as well, like, am I crazy? You know, they're feeling crazy because they have that panic or that anxiety or just the stress, that survival mode that people get into, where they just do what they got to do and they don't sit down and reflect or feel. um and that right there is a big like, just that it lends to the stigma of mental health. Do you notice that too, Ruben?
Yeah, so I know that part of growing up in South Florida, just seeing how folks who were uh, had some mental health concerns were really ridiculed or looked upon in an unfortunate light, and
Yeah.
so as when I entered the field and I realized that this was something that was important and that it was affecting not only the individual but the entire family system, because you
Yes.
can't be struggling with a mental health issue and the folks around you are not affected by that, and that those are
Right.
close family members, friends, and also people who you associate with on a daily basis. So definitely, I
Right.
noticed that, and that's one of the reasons why we developed the COVID-19 Mental Health and Wellness Program, because we wanted to make sure that we can address these issues and concerns as people are dealing with them on a daily basis. So,
Right.
talk to me about what are some of the coping strategies that you dealt with when you were feeling you're anxious and that sort of thing. What did you do to really bring yourself to an equilibrium?
Before I had any awareness of mental health, I started doing what a lot of people do, just internalizing negative messages about myself, about other people, about relationships, and just trying to cope with this negative view that my experiences and my symptoms have kind of shaped in me. But then I started realizing it's okay to not be okay. Shame, a lot of these thoughts are coming from shame or
Mm.
inner critics in our heads, not in our heads, but just from our backgrounds and the messages we internalize. And so I started really looking to meditation and
Oh,
and really kind of positive affirmations and just ways to really kind of regulate myself in the moment so that I can experience these moments of anxiety or depression and say, this is not the end all be all. This is just how I feel in the moment. I'm just overwhelmed. Things of the sort, just changing the way that I talk to myself and the way that I perceive other things. And it's not easy, especially coming from some of the families and some of the experiences that a lot of us from the Latinx community or BIPOC communities, I know that I dealt with a lot of generational trauma. Not just myself, but just with the things I've witnessed my family go through coming to this country, but also not understanding, not having a healthy racial identity as well. But I'm getting into a lot of things. But I think that the majority of the coping skills that I use is just trying to center myself in the moment, which may sound very hippie to a lot of people, but it's very easy to do once you can sit down and reflect, whether it be with a mental health professional or with a pastor or with anybody that will give us that space to do that, to reflect. I hope that made sense.
I think that's sound advice. And matter of fact, we've had several shows where we had yoga and mindfulness instructors on really talk about the importance of being able to do the self reflection, the importance to be able to just tune out, turn everything off, and just really look inward, as you said. I think that those are some very, very vital tools. And you also mentioned again about the cultural aspect. When you say BIPOC, what does BIPOC stand
BIPOC is the official word for Black, Indigenous people and people of color. Uh,
for? Ah,
I know it kind of lumps us all together, but I found it to be kind of helpful to put words and it's, have language to our experiences. So I kind of use it.
well, I believe that we all are one. And so I think that's very appropriate because I think that we all are one. But when you talk about it, from a cultural perspective, a lot of times families try to encourage you or motivate you by using negativity. You're absolutely right. And that negativity, if you were given a task to do and you didn't do it quick enough, or if you
Right.
were, or you're not thriving in school or thriving in work, and the feedback that you get from your family, that negativity is can be contribute to your depression and or anxiety or both. And I wanted,
100%.
you have a very interesting name to your business in terms of Happy Thoughts. So was that one of the reasons why you came up with that name? And talk to us about the cultural piece of the pressures that we may feel from our families that can contribute to some of the things that we're experiencing in terms of mental health issues like stress, depression, and anxiety.
That's right. Yeah, and actually, that's exactly why I called it Happy Thoughts Mental Health. I found it very important once I realized the negative messages that I've internalized, and other people as well in my work, to really reframe or refocus to more positive, more kind of grounding perspectives of things, which may sound very kind of toxic positivity to some. Like, how can I think positive if I'm going through something that I really can't control? But honestly, perspective is everything. If we grow up really hearing ideas of, oh, you're crazy, or you're just an angry person, or relationships, these any negative kind of think thoughts about ourselves or relationships, then that's how we're going to act towards the people going forward, people and opportunities going forward as we grow up. And we might miss out on opportunities to do the things we really want to do, or the opportunities to nurture relationships that we really like, that we really want to pursue. So I think it's very important to really kind of internalize positive messages about situations, because if you have that foundation of positivity, then you can achieve a lot in the moment. I personally think. I hope that made any sense. What do you
It
think?
does. It does. So what I'm hearing you say, and something that I guess is something that we can encourage people to practice, is
Right.
to make sure that we give affirming statements to those who are close to us. Make sure that we, are mindful of the words, our language. There's power in the tongue. And with that tongue, you can really do some devastating things to folks from a psychological perspective. But
A
you can also
hundred.
uplift folks who are needing uplifting, and instead of hearing the negative messages or being or feeling ridiculed, think
A
about
hundred
how you
percent.
can motivate someone to lift them out of a place where they may not be feeling their best. You were about to
Yes.
say something. But
Yes,
yes,
no, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I try to do that with my social media actually. It's a lot of videos of just positive reframes of life that might suit us in moments that we're not feeling, that we kind of fall back on these negative messages we've internalized. My personal favorite is the idea that failure is just part of the process of success. I know a lot of us really kind of give up when things don't work out the first time. And I know that that's been perpetuated by a lot of family messages where it's like, oh, you're really bad at guitar, all right, I guess I'll just give up guitar, you know what I mean? But who knows how much we can get done if we just keep practicing and persisting past failure. And I know for a fact that I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at now with my private practice and in my life without understanding that failure is just part of it. You know what I mean? I feel like we don't learn things like that early. A lot of us don't. So it's important to really kind of give these positive reframes on life and success, to really kind of not limit ourselves, or at least for us not to be the reason why we haven't achieved success, pretty much.
yes. I'm a firm believer that if you fall down 9 times, get up 10. So it doesn't matter how many times you feel that you missed the mark on a particular thing. You just know that you have another opportunity to win. And so, as long as you know that you have that other opportunity, that should keep you motivated. And also, with failure comes fear. When folks are afraid to try, afraid to succeed, because they believe that they are not equipped to be successful. And I just wanted to let you know that, I believe in the acronyms of fear as false evidence appearing real. So if
Love
you
that.
feel that you are a failure, if you feel you have family members that are feeling that they just can't get going, that they just seems like that everything about around them is such a chore to just do. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is have those family members take this survey. Again, we
Yes.
encourage you to go to mymentalhealthmiami.com, click on the right hand corner, take the survey, get your score, and then contact our care coordination team at 786-433-8487. So you just talked about some things that I think that are very important. And one of the things I hear you saying consistently is that a lot of our trauma, a lot of the experiences that we have comes from the family, the people that are closest to us, the people that we interact with on a daily basis. So do you do family therapy work?
I've done family therapy work for a while. Yeah, it's the most
Okay.
effective, I think,
And
but it
why
can be the
so? Why
hardest.
is it most effective?
Because it's true what you say. A lot of our, especially in our communities, and you stop me if I'm generalizing, but I know that we come from very collectivistic ideas. At least my family has, where we really have to. We're one of a system of people, as opposed to some other ideas of individualism, like with other races, where your success is your own. So a lot of us are really vulnerable to these opinions or ideas that our family members have of ourselves. And sometimes that could limit us a lot. So working with the family and also the ideas and messages of our family are a lot louder for a lot of us than anything else. So to work with a family and have the family really encourage or work with the family and have them have the clarity to support each other. That right there is the most healing thing I've ever witnessed in my
It's a
work.
game changer, huh? It's a game changer.
Yes, it
Yes.
is. It's
So
tough though.
now, so now, one of the things I'd like you to talk about today. I know that you're Dominican. You come from a Spanish origin, and I know a lot of folks like to lump all of the Hispanic people in the same group. And we have to understand that for your origin, you have different cultural customs. The way that you speak, words that you use can mean
Yes.
different things. And so it's very important, I know, to if you are seeking therapy, to seek it from a therapist that has a good understanding, a cultural understanding of your background, and that way they can really guide you to a healing, if you will. And so one of the things I want you to talk about is that cultural piece and how it plays a part in some of the things that affects us from a mental health perspective, and how it can also play a part in the healing as well.
Yes, having a counselor that really sees you and understands your experience is again the most healing, the best way to kind of uh, refine the idea of what healthy mental health looks like. Because some cultures may not understand. Some people of different, a counselor of a different culture may not understand that certain behaviors or customs are normal for us. I know for a fact, for example, being Dominican, that there's certain ways that we can act in relationships that may be stigmatized by other cultures. When really, eh, if I see someone who's Dominican that's gone through, um, the normal kind of generational traumas, and maybe a conflict with their parents, for example, I will understand that, you know what I mean. There's a very distinct kind of generational difference between our Dominican parents and the children that are raised in America who are trying to find their way here. Some of those messages from the old school may not match up to the way that they want to strive here in the present. So I, as a Dominican, will really not really stigmatize the way that the relationship plays out, because I understand there's certain things at play with my culture that individual may be going through. So I'll be able to have a very intentional conversation about the boundaries we make with our family, but also nurture the fact that family may also be within that person's morals and values, because we grew up Dominican and the family is strong, even though family may not understand our individual experience. They're still important. It's still important to have them around. So, like boundaries, but if someone from another culture may see that play out, a counselor from another culture, they might really kind of encourage strong, rigid boundaries or any things that won't be helpful, because they don't understand the way the culture works. You know what I mean? So it's important to really have a conversation with somebody that understands your culture, your background. The closer, the better, I say. Yeah.
So
And
again,
Ruben, by the way, I believe you're a bit of a unicorn. You're a black male therapist. I imagine you've done a lot of good work with people, with certain people. I just wanted to say that.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. I don't toot my own horn. I like others to tell me whether or not I'm doing a good job. So I hope so. And thank you for that compliment. So we talked about this thing, and you made reference to the old country and the new country. And I know I've worked on several research projects that dealt with acculturation issues, and where you have family members who came from a country of origin, who have children who may have been born in that country but came over very early to the United States, or children who were born in the United States. And these kids have acculturated. They do not practice the same customs or mores and that sort of thing that their parents, and that brings up a huge conflict in the family, and it could cause a lot of tension, cause a lot of stress, anxiety, and that sort of thing. So, have you seen that? And if you have, how do you address that with the families that you work
I, just just having that unique understanding of acculturation really guides a lot of conversation, for one. And I noticed that a lot of people that I work with aren't really aware of those things: acculturation, generational differences, the fact that our parents have gone through their own traumas in coming here, or in their own countries where mental health is just laughable. It's not a real thing, you know. So just putting language and words to these experiences has been so healing for a lot of people, and not just Dominicans. But I also know that my understanding of acculturation for Dominicans is way different from maybe someone that came from Colombia or Mexico or different things, So, because like you said before, we're all very different. um,
with? Right,
so
right.
yeah. So, but
How,
either way,
how is it,
putting words to it.
how is it different? What are the nuances there?
Well, I know people from Mexico typically don't come. Well, there's different ways. Well, especially it's very dependent on politics and certain things, their experience, as opposed to Dominicans can come here on a plane sometimes, but then you have people from Venezuela or Cuba that seek asylum here. And so it's all so different. There's different varying levels of trauma that come with just coming from this to this country, that I could never, that I don't really understand as a Dominican, but I can appreciate, because again, we're all Latinx and we all want to adapt to this country, and the customs and the way of living, regardless of our background. Yeah.
So I hear you talk about the different, the various traumas or lack of trauma in terms of your experience of coming to a new country, and what that also brings, and the stigma behind how people view you when you come to this country. So you hear words from politicians that are very degrading to about people from different Latin countries that migrated here, are seeking asylum here and that sort of thing. So I hear how you can say that that definitely plays a part in something that people have to process and work through. And it's good to be able to work through that with a therapist who is culturally sensitive. And I want to say that the COVID-19 Mental Health and Wellness Program is a cultural and linguistically competent program. And one of the things that we do is make sure that we provide all of our collateral information and all of our information in Spanish, English, and Creole. The other thing I
That's a
wanted to
great
talk.
resource. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. We aim to do that, be that. The other thing I want to say is that we just recently in Puerto Rico had a storm Fiona that hit, and again they've been devastated, repeatedly by these major storms. And I want you to talk about what are some of the things that folks experience after a natural disaster, such as COVID-19. What are some of the things that families or people experience, and then what are some of the ways that we can address those experiences in a positive and a happy way, as the name of your company, from those
Right.
experiences.
Yes, and so like you said, yeah, Puerto Rico, they've been hit hard with this hurricane, and I know for a fact that it's beautiful to know, because it's similar to Dominicans, that Puerto Ricans are very unidos, like they like to say, they're very connected, and they
Mm,
find strength in community. But again, these natural disasters leave us very vulnerable to having to isolate with family, and so that causes maybe risk of domestic violence, use of substances, which has already been kind of normalized in our cultures a little bit. But again, it causes us to really kind of fall back on these behaviors. And so it's important, just like with the pandemic, to for everybody to, instead of to just have an abundance mindset, like a resilience mindset of just being able to regulate yourself, take the space if you need it, just balance your time while the storm is passing, because it will pass, and even afterwards, finding balance within yourself and with your family, maybe taking your time separately, if you need it, coming together in a very mindful, nice way if you can. And then afterwards, of course, please connect with everybody, connect with your people, your family, and the resources available. I wonder what else, that's all we
yeah.
can do.
Well, I know during COVID, there were significant family members that were lost. And unfortunately, during the time prior to the vaccinations, family members were lost where they couldn't even go and see their family members on their dying beds in the hospital. They were restricted. We were supposed to remain isolated. And I'm assuming the same thing in Puerto Rico right now, where you have folks who may be isolated. Someone may be in the mountains, that sort of thing, and you have no way of contacting them, or someone may be in need of help right now. And so that
And
piece those significant losses or of loved ones can definitely weigh on you long after the event. And so, again, how do you uh, what are your recommendations of how we deal with grief and loss during natural disasters? And what do you recommend in terms of what these families or individuals should do?
And grief is tough, but especially when it's sudden and unexpected, and from such a tragedy. Uh, and I guess that the only thing that can happen is to, I mean, grief in itself. I guess all you can really do is just get that support, whether it be with family, with your community, with your church, but also the resources that are available, such as the COVID-19, the survey available with My Mental Health. Right, getting connected with support is all you can do. We're all wired for connection as humans, so uh, that's the most healing way to do it. Just connect and with your people and your supports, pretty much is my recommendation. And of course, people like us are available if
Right.
you need it.
So tell us a little bit about your agency. Give us how we can connect with you. If you have any upcoming programs or events that people should know about, please take the time to share that information with them now.
Right. Yeah. Happy Thoughts Mental Health is a telehealth um, mental health support agency. It's a private practice run by me. And I really prioritize giving that support to anybody that really kind of is scared of counseling and really is unsure of that process, but really wants to give it a chance anyway. I provide very person centered, um, authentic support, and just any space for you to be yourself. It's so that we can get down to whatever is getting in the way of your clarity and mindfulness in the moment. And your family deserves it, honestly. uh, Everybody, what I mean, you deserve to be your best self, and that's what I try to do with Happy Thoughts Mental Health. I'm available at mindfulbipoccounseling.com. That's my website. And I'm on social media at happy thoughts underscore MH. That's me. I
Do
I plan
you
to
have a
hopefully
phone
run
number that
groups.
people can reach you at?
Yes, my number is 954-406-8612. Y se habla español, of course.
All right. I want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your pearls of wisdom
Thank
around
you.
mental health and wellness and how to maintain those happy thoughts and really stressing the importance of how we can heal through positive affirmations, being mindful by doing some soul searching inward and really connecting with people who we really care about. So thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Ruben Roberts. I am the CEO of RER Consulting and the founder of the COVID-19 Mental Health and Wellness Program, which Let's Talk Mental Health is brought to you by today. I encourage you all again to make sure that you go to our website at mymentalhealthmiami.com. It's in the scroll. Click on the survey button on the right hand corner and take the survey. Get your score and then call our care coordination team at 786-433-8487. Thank you so very much, Catherine, for coming and joining us today. This is Ruben Roberts and Catherine Rincon signing off.